Hey, friend. Happy Wednesday. So good to see you. I hope wherever you are, wherever you're coming in from, that you have been having a fantastic start to the week. I know that I have. And it's one of those weeks where you just have to make lemonade out of lemons because you may or may not realize that today we were supposed to have our very good friend Erin Shrimpton join us and talk to us all about resilience and emotional intelligence and really just how to hold our own at work and in life. And I was so looking forward to our talk with her. But sadly, earlier this week, we found out Erin had a death in not necessarily her family, but her extended friend group. Which was, awful and sad. And so she is sadly at the funeral today. So she, rightfully so, isn't joining us and instead kind of being where she needs to be. So I hope that you will join me in sending out some kind of positive vibes, some prayers, some good energy, whatever it is that you believe in. I hope you will channel that and send it Erin's way because I know that she will feel our love from afar and especially feel it today. But never fear, me and Liz and Giacomo and James and Amanda and Shelby and Erin, we're all here today. And we are ready to spill the tea and spill some goodness on how to make each other better and hold each other accountable. And I know I came in with a ton of stuff that I have been loving and using and raving about lately. And hopefully Jeff and Craig and Saranth and everybody else has also come in with things that they are loving lately. And I know this was sort of an impromptu session. So if you feel like you don't have something to share, that's okay. You can still get those fingers to type in, and we will type in the notes and the resources that everybody is adding into the conversation. If you are listening to this on your favorite podcast network while you walk the dog or do the dishes or fold the laundry, never fear because we will include all the links in the show notes. And if you have something that you wanted to pass along to us, send it to me in a message or a DM or whatever it is, and we will manually add it to the thread, to the tether, to the podcast notes so that your recommendation can be included as well. So I hope that Hiromi and Kelly and everybody are ready to dive in today. And again, if you're joining us and it's your first time here, we're doing things a little bit different. This is not how we normally roll, but I promise that we are a super friendly, fun bunch here. So if you're feeling brave, lean in, type down your fingers, let us know where you're coming in from or what is in your cup. I have tea today, but whatever it is that you're partaking in, we're all good with that too. So, and we would love for you to say hi because, we love meeting new people as well. And we would love to know who you are. So, okay. I want to talk about some stuff that so far I am obsessed with and also using every single day. And I realize that not everybody is joining these sessions every single week, although you should be. So I picked two. I couldn't pick just one, but I picked a new one. So this is one that I've never talked about before. So that I just started using it maybe about 3 weeks ago. And I literally now use it every single day, multiple times a day. I'm obsessed. And then I'm also going to talk about a slightly old one, which if you've joined, you have probably heard me talk about before. So you will just get to hear my love for it all over again. But the first one I'm going to talk about really, I was not sold on it. I'm not going to lie. So you might be like me because of my friend Cody told me about it. And when she told me about it, I was kind of like, I was suspect. I was like, I don't really know if I'm loving that. I don't really know if I need that. But she convinced me. It took about 2 weeks for it to marinate after she kept talking about it before I was finally like, all right, let me try this. And now look, now I'm totally bought in. Now I'm totally bought in and I'm doing the same thing to you. So I say that because I might say this to you right now and you might have the exact same reaction I did, which was, I don't know if I'll need that. It seems redundant. I was you. You were me. So here we go. Okay. This one is called Whisper Flow. Whisper, like I'm whispering you a secret, and flow, like, I don't know, flow like a jellyfish or something like that. Whisper Flow. And the app, I'm going to pull up the app if you're looking at on screen. If you're not looking on screen, then I just cannot help you. But the app looks like this. It is black. It's a black and white app when you look in the App Store, and it looks like little sound bars when you see it. So I know that sometimes multiple apps in the store can have the same name, but it is black and white, the app picture, and it looks like little sound bars. And basically what it does, it allows you to speak into your phone and it dictates your text. Now, yeah, okay, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be the me of 3 weeks ago. We're going to go on a time machine and I'm going to be me 3 weeks ago. I don't need that because my iPhone already has that function. When I go to text someone, and by the way, you have this function as well if you have an iPhone. If I go to type a new message in iPhone, there is a little microphone in the right-hand corner that you can press. I'll press it right now and say, I really enjoy talking with my friend on Coffee with Kim on Wednesdays because we always have such a great conversation. And then it will type out whatever I just said. However, if you have used this feature long enough, you know that it's not always accurate. So you might be saying, oh my gosh, I'm so ducking mad. The word is not ducking. If you know, you know. But it will write ducking. So, or if I say, for instance, my name, Kim Kelp, it doesn't always write it correctly. I mean, it has now because I programmed it, but a lot of times it won't. Or if I'm saying names that it doesn't recognize, it will not write it correctly. And that would always annoy me because when I would do talk to text, there were times where I would end up looking a little crazy. Like my mom would be like, you spelled your cousin's name wrong. And I'm like, no, I meant to say Mackenzie, but the phone writes Mackenzie M-A-C, and that's not how we spell it in our family. Disaster. So then it just looks like, what, do you not know how to spell your cousin's name? You're an idiot. So I would get mad. I would love the feature, but I would get mad because I would say one in every 4 or 5 times I used it, I ended up looking like an idiot because it would type incorrectly or it would type a word that wasn't actually something I was saying. Whisperflow uses AI to scan the internet, scan anything that it can find, and it actually accurately does what you're talking about. And what I think is so impressive is when you're using just the function on your phone or WhatsApp, which is what Giacomo is saying, it just says exactly what you're saying. So if you do like, or you say something like, I was going to meet Giacomo on Wednesday. I mean, Thursday. We're going to meet on Thursday and we're going to go have lunch together. It would write everything. It would write out Wednesday, Thursday. Like it would write out your mistake, which is, not necessarily what you want. Whereas, again, I'm sorry if you're listening to this and not watching on the screen, but I will explain it to you after I do it. So if I use Whisperflow on my phone, and I'm going to do a mistake, like I just said, because I want to show you. Giacomo and I are going to meet on Thursday for lunch. I'm really excited about it, and we're going to go to a new restaurant. I'm just making that up. Oh, of course it didn't take. Okay, I'm going to do a test run where it looks like I'm going to text it to I'm going to pick my dad. In case it goes through, he'll be very confused. But Giacomo and I are going to go to lunch on Thursday. We're going to try a new taco spot that I've been wanting to try forever. I heard on Yelp that it got great reviews, but I also heard that on Resi, it only got decent reviews. Mistake. You can see when it writes it out, it does it correctly. So it doesn't say like Wednesday, Thursday, whatever I said. And it does the correct capitalization. It capitalizes Thursday. It capitalizes Giacomo. It capitalizes Yelp. It spells Yelp correctly. All this stuff that I just realized on WhatsApp and my iPhone, it wasn't doing. Why iPhone and WhatsApp have not adopted this technology. I have no idea. I'm sure what will happen in the next year is they'll buy the company Whisperflow and probably integrate them into their platform. But for some reason right now they haven't. So I really enjoyed Whisperflow. Aaron is asking, is Whisperflow app similar to other AI app platforms like ChatGPT? No, it is not. It can't like research things for you, Aaron. All it can do is it can type what you're saying. I also find it very helpful. You can use it both on mobile and desktop, and you can dictate to it. So I have been doing emails at like lightning speed because I can just press one button on my computer and just talk. So let's say an email comes in from you, Aaron, and you're asking me, what are my thoughts on the marketing deck? I can hit this one button on my Mac and speak back and say, hi, Aaron, I read through the marketing deck. Slide 2 was okay. Slide 4 was really great. Slide 6, I think, needs a little bit of work. It needs more blue and a punchier outro. But other than that, I think it's looking really great. Thanks, Kim. And it will write all that out. So I don't have to type there, tip, 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 tippity type. I can just speak my emails now, both on desktop and mobile. So super interesting. Honestly, play around with it. If you're like me, you're thinking, I don't need this. I agree. I was you for 2 weeks, but I think it is worth a little trial run. You can try it out for like a month. If it's not for you, it's not for you, but I think it's going to be for you because it was, wow, it was that for me. And I am now I'm fully bought into it. So if you like to dictate a lot of your thoughts, if you like to dictate a lot of your text, if you like to dictate a lot of your emails, I knew somebody who used to dictate newsletters. Now, again, she would have to retype it, but she would dictate into her newsletter. I should actually tell her about Whisperflow because she would really need it because it would actually write it correctly. So give it a go. I just started using it a couple weeks ago. I'm obsessed. I'm using it every day. I love it. So that's number one. Number two, you may have heard me talk about this before, but this is Superhuman. So if you use Gmail, I believe it now also works with Outlook. Superhuman is basically like a reskinning. It's like a new coat of paint on an old house. So no offense to Gmail, no offense to Outlook, but sometimes they just don't have all the bells and whistles that you want. You can like kind of hodgepodge it together with like plugins. Superhuman has all of my favorite plugins in one space. And they have 2 new features that I think are really, really interesting. The first one is what they call it almost like an auto bump. So let's say I am sending an email to Shelby asking if she wants to meet for lunch next week. And I send that on Monday. And then maybe it gets to Wednesday or Thursday and Shelby has not responded. What Superhuman will do is, I know this is kind of creepy, it will use its AI to automatically write an email to Shelby for my approval. So again, if I sent the email on Monday saying, hey, let's get lunch later this week or early next week, when are you free? On like Wednesday or Thursday, it will show up in my inbox. It will ask me if I want to send it. It doesn't just send it automatically, but it will say something like, hey, Shelby, not sure if you saw my email from Monday. Still would really love to get lunch later this week. Let me know if you're free or what times next week work. Thanks, Kim. And I didn't type any of it. And there have been times where I forgot that a couple days before I asked somebody for something, lunch, for them to send me something, send me that updated PDF, give me the new username and password that we're using. And it like auto reminds you if that person doesn't respond. And you don't have to program it. You don't have to boomerang it back to yourself. No, it's like sentient. I know. I told you it was a little creepy. The AIs, they're getting creepy. They're getting creepy, but so good. So it will know that Shelby has not responded to you. It will know that you still want a response from Shelby. It will write again to Shelby. And all you have to do is press like, Oh yeah, I did still want to get lunch with Shelby. Send. I mean, you could obviously change around some sentences if you want, but so cool. So cool, so interesting. Again, you have to actually press send. It comes back in your inbox. It says like auto response suggestion. So it's a suggestion. You don't have to take it, but it is very, very, very cool. So, number one, I feel like that has been such a game changer for me in terms of not letting anything slip through the cracks. As Liz is saying, like, wait a minute, I've been waiting for AI to do my email for me. Like, yes, please help me with my emails. I really love this feature from Superhuman. I think that it's really going to change the game in terms of, again, letting little balls slip through the cracks. No balls are dropped because it knows if somebody didn't write back to you, and it reminds you that that person hasn't written back to you. So I think that that is really, really powerful and super duper interesting. And then the next thing that I think is really cool, and again, creepy AI, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. The AI is going to know all up in your business unless you plan on living in Alaska and going off the grid. Our phones are listening. The ship has sailed. Okay. The cookies are tracking us. The phones are listening. It's everywhere. I don't know how Superhuman does this. So it's just best not to ask questions sometimes. But it now also has a feature where if I am writing an email to Shelby, so hi Shelby, are you around for lunch later this week? Let me know when you're free. Da, 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 da. When I go to send it, there are two options. The option that's just send, so send, boom, there it goes. Or they have an option called Smart Send. Smart Send. And what Smart Send does is it goes back through all of my past emails with Shelby, all of them. And what it will realize is, I'm making this up. Shelby always seems to open a lot of emails between 9 a.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Eastern. Then she kind of opens them up, randomly throughout the day. But wow, we see a ton of opens in that 60-minute period. Because we are smart, because we are AI, we are going to assume that Shelby is at her computer between 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern every single morning. So if we want to up our chances that this email gets seen by Shelby and doesn't get kind of lost in the mix, we're going to suggest that Kim send it at 9 a.m. Eastern. So it does the thinking for you and smartly suggests when is the highest chance that that email is going to get opened. Again, I think that that's really cool. I'm super into it and I'm sold. So Lisa's asking, does an AI assistant not do this? And how much are you spending per month on all of these tools? Great question. I will tell you what I pay for all of my various tools right now. So I have the deluxe version of Chat GPT. The last time I checked, I believe, I don't know, Shelby or Jeff can correct me, but I believe that's $20 or $25 a month, like the deluxe version of Chat GPT. So I definitely pay that. Whisper Flow, I believe, is also like $15 a month. I started paying that. Nope. I was like, $15 a month. I need to dictate my life to you, Whisper Flow. That's a yes. Superhuman, also a great question because I have now had Superhuman for like at least 4 or 5 years. So I will let somebody in the chat tell us what that new cost is because again, I had it 4 years ago and I want to say 4 years ago it was also like $20 a month, but now with inflation and it's been 4 years, it could totally be $40 a month and I would actually have no idea because I'm kind of grandfathered in at the price from 2021 or whatever it is that I started using it, 2020 maybe even. So I actually don't know what the updated price for Superhuman is. But it is a great question, Lisa, because one of the things I also do every quarter is I manually go into my app store and I make sure that what I'm paying for is what I'm already using or accurately using? Because you're right. Sometimes you end up paying, for instance, like I'll just be totally transparent. I realized last quarter that I was paying for 2 exercise apps. And let's just be honest, I was not using both exercise apps. I had big goals at the beginning of the year. I was like, I'm going to be super in shape and I need this app and I need this app. It got to June and yours truly was like, Kim, you're not exercising. January Kim was a lot more ambitious and fit than June Kim. So June Kim had to have a little come to Jesus moment. And I was like, you're not using both of these exercise apps. Let's be honest with ourselves and let's let one of them go. Let's still hold on to the dream. January Fit Kim is not totally dead. I kept one, but perhaps let's let go of the second one because you're not using it. So I kept the one that was like $100 a year in hopes that, again, I recommitted myself and I have used it at least once a week since June. But yes, I will say that. Jeff made a really good point that a lot of the AI tools like Superhuman may not be allowed at the corporate level. That is a really great point to consider. If that is you and you don't feel like you'll use these tools with your own personal kind of stuff that you have going on in your own personal Gmail account, coordinating stuff in your neighborhood or with your friends, then maybe Superhuman isn't the right fit if you're not going to use it at a corporate level. But I always think it's worth an ask. And I also always think you always look like a smart, interesting person in the room when you're bringing up new apps and tools. So it is something that you could necessarily say to your boss, hey, I learned about this new app. I learned about this new feature. What do you think? Could it be interesting? And, 50% chance your boss says, yeah, no way HR will approve that. Delete. Or your boss might say, hey, that's pretty cool. Like maybe this is something that we can use. Like, let me go ask and maybe I can even get us a corporate account and the company will pay for it. I always think it's worth an ask. No one's going to ever say, ew, you brought new ideas and new tools to the table. We hate that. If you find somebody like that, please tell me because I have not found it. I think it's always worth it to at least bring these new and exciting features to the table, to your boss, to your marketing team, to HR. I think that it's always worth a conversation. If you guys have apps, by the way, that you are loving and using, I would love to hear what they are. So if you have a Whisper Flow type app that you are loving, or you have a Superhuman type app that you are loving, or if there is some other type of cool new app or program that you are using on an everyday basis or a weekly basis that you really love, sharing is caring. We want to know what it is. So please, if you can, type it in the chat box. Let us know what it is so that we can all keep learning. I love that Shelby mentioned this one, which is Marco Polo. So that's another one that people may or may not know about. But Marco Polo is, again, it reminds me of like async communication. It's almost like you can send a little video or a little voice note to people and they can kind of pick it up and read it and process it whenever they want. So I think this is great. Marco Polo is great for people that live across time zones or people that are working remote or not even work related. Just, I know people that Marco Polo just with girlfriends that live across the country. So it doesn't always have to be a work-related tool. Craig is saying that he just signed up for Revoicer. I have absolutely no idea what Revoicer is, Craig. So please do tell what it is and why it is interesting and why you think we all will love it, because I'm super curious about what you are using as well. I think that that would be pretty awesome. And Shelby just reminded me that the Superhuman stuff is $25 a month. I was pretty close with my guess of $20 from back in the day. So that was not too far off. Amanda said, I just started using Notion literally this week, so I'm still figuring it out. I'm using it for content ideas on the go, and it also has a scheduling option. Amanda, we are huge Notion super fans over here. And you may or may not already know this, but Notion also has templates that you can buy. So you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel and build things for yourself. There is a great book that I'm going to recommend to you and a great person that I'm going to recommend to you that I think really has Notion dialed in. And that is the book Free Time by Jenny Blake. So if you have not already read that book, I highly recommend it. She talks about Notion in the book and on her website, which I think is it free time with jennyblake.com or free time by Jenny Blake, or maybe it's just free time. Anyway, you put it in Google, it'll come up. She actually has Notion templates there. I think there are some for free and some that you can buy, but super great, really helps you gain, obviously, more free time. The name of the book, go figure. But she uses Notion a lot to give herself more free time in the day and get her stuff done faster and better and more easy. So I definitely think that could be a really great thing for you to read and look at. But oh yeah, it's freetime.com. And also Notion has AI features as well. So that is also really interesting. And James just added, they offer up to 6 months of Notion Plus with AI for free to LinkedIn premium accounts. That's pretty cool. Didn't know about that feature, James. So thank you for sharing that. If you do not have a LinkedIn premium account, selfish plug right here. If you do not have a LinkedIn premium account, next week, no, 2 weeks from now, we are going to be doing a LinkedIn profile audit session. These sessions are so fun. They're live, they're interactive. We will review your LinkedIn profile, yes, yours, in real time. It is a lot of fun. We help optimize them. We help supercharge them in real time. And when we are doing this, in addition to picking people out of the audience to dig into their LinkedIn profiles, we also give out LinkedIn premium codes. So we will have some of those to give out, like Oprah car keys during the session. Like, you get LinkedIn premium, you get LinkedIn premium. So if you don't have LinkedIn premium and you think to yourself, well, A, it would be interesting to have it, and B, it would be interesting to have it for free, which is always my favorite price, I highly suggest you come back in 2 weeks, because there is a good chance that you yourself will receive a LinkedIn premium code for you to give that a go and get access, as James said, to Notion with AI, which would be really, really cool. I want to also share this piece that Giacomo is telling us about, which is Gemini by Google. He specifically uses it when he has to do a proposal to choose the best product between two possible options, and to look and see that everything is, spelled correctly and is compatible with programs that he's using. So I personally have not played with Gemini by Google, but I know that Giacomo is not alone in being a huge fan of Gemini, because a lot of people have a ton of great resources when it comes to that. So again, going back to the earlier point of perhaps Kim overcommitting to one too many shiny toys and shiny features, I've held off on Gemini, just like I've held off on Claude and held off on some of these other AIs, just because I'm like, how do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one baby bite at a time. So I don't want to overcommit myself in the AI app department. But Hiromi is also saying, I love Gemini. I use it daily, and I especially like how I can export everything to my Google Docs, and it has a YouTube integration. So I don't know, guys, we're getting a lot of love for Gemini. I know I have a lot of love for ChatGPT. I think it's also one of those things that you kind of just have to try out a little bit of everything and see what a fit is. I actually have on my to-do list, I'm not going to share my screen with you because there's a lot of other stuff that I have pulled up that you're not allowed to see because I have NDAs with my clients, but on my to-do list, which also has stuff that you're not allowed to see, I will read it to you, but it does say, look into Claude specifically for writing and ideas, because I've had 3 people now tell me, like, you got to look into Claude. You got to look into Claude. So it's on the to-do list for me to at least look into. So if you're with me on that, you're with me on that. I wanted to keep this same theme in sharing things that I think have been really helpful for me and might also be very helpful for you. And to also leave you room and space to give me your best advice and your best tactics and your best things that you've been using. And that is when it comes to books and learning materials. So I once again picked 2. The first is a book that is new or new-ish. It came out not too long ago. And the second one is an oldie but a goodie, and one that I like to reread. And the first new book, I have not actually, I read like the first 2 pages, but I'm finishing up one of my fun summer reads. And when that's done, I'm going to dive into it. But that is The Next Conversation by Jefferson Fisher. So I'm really excited to dig into that book. I've heard a lot of great things about it. It's all about how to have hard conversations. This is something that this people pleaser is always avoiding and always really kind of gets me a little squirmish about. So I'm excited to read Jefferson's book. It is all about how to have those hard conversations, how to push back, how to hold your ground. And so if anybody else has read that, I'm super curious if you feel like it was worth the read, or if you enjoyed it, or if perhaps it is also on your list as well as something that you want to read. But that is on my summer must read list. I think the book came out in May, if I'm remembering correctly, April, May, something like that. So it's new. It's not like brand new, but it is in the newer session. So I feel like Liz is like, yes, I love Jefferson Fisher as well. And we also have a few questions around, is there going to be a complete list of all these apps and tools and book suggestions? Yes, we will include these in the show notes, and we will put these in the show notes of both the app, and we will recap them and drop them on the comments section as well. So you'll have them all together, because I know there's a lot of good suggestions being dropped in the chat as well as here that we're reading out loud together. So I definitely think it's one of those things that you got to put at least 1 or 2 smart books on your list. They can't all be fun summer beach reads. I mean, they could, but then you wouldn't get as much, you wouldn't get as much learning out of your summer. I love that Giacomo is asking the group, what is your current fun summer read? I would love to know what everybody else's fun summer read is. My current fun summer read is, I'm forgetting the exact title, but it's something like The Many Lives of Majorie Weather Post or something like that. I'm forgetting the exact title. But it's a super interesting book. It's kind of like, I don't know, Bridgerton, The Gilded Age, Downton Abbey. It's based on this sort of like debutante woman who's also very smart and successful. And it just kind of goes into her life and what she's doing. Like I said, it's currently a super fun kind of beach read that I've been really enjoying before I get into kind of my more dense reading, which would be Jefferson's book. So I'm super, super excited about that. Looks like Amanda is digging into Atomic Habits for the first time, which is such a good one. Shelby is digging into Homecoming by Kate Morton, which I have heard that one is also really good, but I have not read that myself. So I feel like that is definitely going to be a good one. Liz is saying, if you also are into Jefferson Fisher and you're a people pleaser and you want to kind of keep figuring out how to push back and stand in your own power, she is suggesting Defy the Power of No in a World That Demands Yes. Woo, by Sutna Sa. That sounds like an awesome book. So I feel like that is also a really good recommendation. I want to pop in a book that is not new. It came out back in 2016, so 8 years ago now, but it is a book that I always am still recommending to people, and that I myself try to reread at least once a year, and that is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And the reason that I'm going to keep kind of beating the drum about this book is, if we can be honest with each other, I think the world as adults tries to, I don't know, kind of mush the magic out of us. It tries to stifle our creativity, and it tells us to fit in a box and think about our bills and think about our taxes and one foot in front of the other. And we don't necessarily always live in a space that is very expansive, that is very creative, that allows us to think big thoughts or dream bigger dreams, or have the conversation with ourselves about what if. What if I tried to start this business? What if I tried to do this consultancy? What if I posted on TikTok every day? Whatever it is, that sort of like what if question that might be kind of swirling around you, you don't really give a lot of space and air and time to those ideas. And what I think that this book does such a brilliant job of is it really gives you that permission slip to go in deep and think about those little momentary magic pockets in your day, or how to create those magic pockets in your day. And I think that that is really a powerful thing. And I'm not alone, because we have other people saying yes on Big Magic. Also rereading Think and Grow Rich, not so much a juicy summer book, but so good. ChatGPT has been incredibly helpful for me. Also, if you want book recommendations, I feel like that could be a good place to go. But if you're thinking to yourself, oh, Kim, my TBR, that's to be read for the cool kids, my TBR list is too long. I have ADD. I don't have time for a book. I don't want to do audiobooks. Secret hack, audiobooks. But again, some people even hate the audiobooks. I personally love the audiobooks. Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. If you know, you know. Takamo knows what I'm talking about. So good. If you need a summer listen and you haven't done Green Lights, if you haven't had Matthew McConaughey seducing your eardrums with that read, you're welcome. That's all I'm going to say. Come back to me when you're done. You're welcome. That's a gift from me to you. Matthew McConaughey, Seducing Your Eardrums, Green Lights on Audible. I don't even care if you've already read the book. You need to do the Audible book. Matthew needs to be reading to you. Huge. So if you don't want to read and you don't want to do an Audible book, Elizabeth Gilbert also, way back in the day, way back when the book came out back in 2016, she put together a podcast. So again, back when like nobody was doing podcasts. I mean, some people were doing podcasts, obviously, but it was still fairly new. And she called it Magic Lessons. So again, you can go in any podcast network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., and you can search for Magic Lessons by Elizabeth Gilbert. And each episode, she kind of takes almost like an excerpt from the book and goes a little deeper into it. So if your to be read and to be listened to list is really full and you just kind of want those bite-sized nuggets in your ear, subscribe to the podcast. She has not updated it. I want to say since like 2017. I think she did it for like a year and then kind of cut it off. So, but again, it's one of those things that I go back and revisit at least once every year or two, just because I think it's like an easy listen. And again, it just kind of boosts my creative mojo and boosts my, boost my confidence about creating those big magical ideas that might change your life. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one. Kelly's also saying, if you're going to do any audiobook, it should be Matthew McConaughey. He certainly has the voice to do it. His accent is chef's kiss, and could not agree more. But also a recommendation for Promised Land by Barack Obama. Have not read that book. Also heard that that was a great inspirational read. So if you're looking for an inspirational read, highly, highly suggest that get added to the list, because that is just such a good one. I love that Amanda is also saying the best book I've ever read that I've gone back to 3 times. Wow. it's definitely a lot, 3 times, is The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, which is a compilation of gratitude practices each day. I feel on top of the world at the end of those 30 days. I definitely have not done this book before. So thank you for sharing that, because that could be a good one for us to all add to the list. Also wanted to do a little +1 on Keith saying a great summer read is A Gentleman in Moscow. I freaking loved this book. This was my gateway drug on, I believe I'm saying his name right, Amor Tolls. I was so into this book that I was like, give me everything that this man has written. And I do mean everything. So I think he has like 4 books now. Keith, you'll have to tell me, but I think it's 4 books. A Gentleman in Moscow is one of them. I've read the other 2. So I've read 3 out of 4. I have 1 left on the list, but delicious. He also has one called Rules of Civility. Keith, if you haven't read Rules of Civility, delicious. So good for a summer read if you're looking for it. But you also know it's a good one when A Gentleman in Moscow was optioned by Netflix, Amazon. It was either Netflix or Amazon, and they made it into like a made for TV miniseries, I believe, starring, who's the guy who was in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? It wasn't Matthew McConaughey. Was it? No, Jude Law. It was Jude Law. I believe A Gentleman in Moscow with Jude Law was picked up by either Netflix or Amazon Prime. You guys will have to see, like, check me on that, but I think that that's right. So anyways, such a good summer read. I'm so glad you brought that up, Keith, because I saw that and I was like, ah, I love that book. So cannot believe it. That wasn't on my list, because that was just so good. Okay, last little tip that I wanted to add as something that I have been using, doing, or loving that I want to pass on. You might have heard me say this before, but it's one of those things that, like, it's the hill that I die on. And I will keep coming back to it over and over again. And you just have to accept that. You are busy. I am busy. You have a massive to-do list. I have a massive to-do list. Unfortunately for both of us, we cannot get more time unless somebody has a time traveling machine. Get back to me on that. And our to-do list will never end. I know this for a fact. There will always be something. Rearrange the pantry, clean the garage, get ahead of the holidays. Never happens. December, Christmas always sneaks up on me. I get to November, I'm freaking out. So it's just, the to-do list is never done, and it's never going to get done, and we just have to accept that. So one of the things that about 3 years ago now, I told myself that I wanted to read a book every month, because I set the goal low, 1 book every month. And I told myself that I had to do one thing that was culturally expansive. So it could be to go to a museum. It could be to go see a play. It could be to go to a cool new green market that I read about in the newspaper. It could be to go to a free jazz night when Jazz in the Park comes on in the summer. I had to do one thing each month that was sort of out of my routine, out of my comfort zone, out of my regular day-to-day. And in order to find whatever that thing was, I had to read the local newspaper, or I had to go on our museum's, like, what's happening in July list at the local science museum, or whatever it was. And I told myself that I had to do one thing a month. And when you actually think about it, whether it's Jazz in the Park, or I don't know, something at the science museum where somebody comes and talks about stars or asteroids or something, if you only have 12 of those a year, that's pretty great. That's 12 opportunities. Or you're going to that new green market, or you are going to, my friend posted something on Facebook the other day where, like, her town had like a chalk drawing thing where everybody came and drew chalk in front of City Hall, like silly, like cool stuff. And I realized if you don't make time for these sort of cultural expansive moments, if you don't make time in your schedule for new experiences, not going to the same pizza place every Friday night because you do that, not going to the same movie theater that you go to every other month when it's raining out on a Thursday night, getting out of your routine, making yourself a little bit uncomfortable, making yourself feel like, oh gosh, like, am I the only one at the science fair talk that doesn't know anything about asteroids? Like, if you don't push yourself out of that comfort zone, out of your routine, you're probably never going to do it. You're probably never going to do it. And if you don't have a way to hold yourself accountable, it won't happen. So, like I said, I started, ironically, Amanda, you'll appreciate this. I started it in a Evernote, but then once I found Notion, I left Evernote behind and ran away with my new mistress of Notion. So it wasn't Evernote, but I transferred it all to Notion. And I've been doing it now for about 3 years, 2025, 2024, and 2023. Might have even been doing it for part of 22, but it's pretty easy. It's just a little list that says, January book, semicolon. I have to put at least one book there. And then it says culture, semicolon. I got to put something there. And listen, there are some months where life gets busy and the culture thing is blank. But then I feel the silent guilt when it gets to the next month, like, oh man, June was blank. Okay, it's July. I really got to make sure I do something. It's one of those things that you will always tell people that you value certain things, but it's one of those things that you're talking the talk, but are you walking the walk? And I think that that's the only way you're going to walk the walk is if you hold yourself accountable or somebody else holds you accountable. So I would offer that to you. That has helped me keep myself accountable. But whatever system works for you, or maybe it's telling somebody else about it. Maybe it's like Amanda and Kelly have said, okay, at the end of every month, we're going to email each other the one thing we did that month that was kind of out of our routine. Again, a pizza making class. I joined a webinar about how to do calligraphy. I know Shelby got super into herbs that I loved following along with on Instagram. I feel like we need to get back on the Instagram herb talk because I was learning a lot from that. So bonus points if not only you're learning about something, but then selfishly for us, you're sharing about that with other people. It doesn't have to be online. It could just be telling us in the chat kind of what you're up to and what's new, because it helps inspire others. Even if you think, oh my gosh, this is so silly. I'm, learning about herbs or I'm going to this chalk thing. I can assure you that somebody else is consuming that content going like, parsley, who knew you could freeze it, or whatever it is like that. There is somebody out there who is consuming that, who I promise you thinks that it is super interesting, and they're going to mention it to somebody that they're talking to. So just a way to I offer that to you as a way to hold yourself accountable, and I offer it to you as a way to really get yourself out of your comfort zone in a way that's going to stretch you, because until I started doing this, I didn't realize also how many cool things were happening at the city level. I also really encourage you, wherever you are, to look at what your local museums are doing. They always have a ton of free talks and nights and community events. Don't even make me bring it up, but the library, you know how I get super excited about the library. Library, also ton of free community events. They're always bringing in authors to talk. Local bookshops. I know where I live in Austin, Texas, there is a great independent bookstore called Book People, and they are always hosting free author events where authors come and talk about their books or their writing processes. There are so many things that are free that you can dig into. And I just think it's a really powerful way to keep inspiring yourself and keep your own creative juices flowing. Or in this example, trying a new cuisine recipe every single week. Okay, one day a week, I'm going to try to cook something different. And really, I promise you, there should be nobody here who's saying, wow, there's nothing where I live. I promise you, if you check out the library, or you check out your local community center, or you check out a bookstore, or you check out a museum, there are free events that are happening. find one that looks interesting, go, bring a friend, or you know what? Don't bring a friend. If you can't convince somebody to go, go by yourself. Bonus points for going by yourself. But I feel like that's the type of stuff that really fills my tank and hopefully will fill your tank as well. I cannot believe, or I can believe it, let's be honest, but I can't believe 50 minutes have already flown by as we are sharing all of these tips and tricks and tactics and resources and amazing books and podcasts. I promise we are going to compile all this information and include it in the show notes. So be on the lookout for that. I promise you will get it. If you want it, it will be there for you. But I cannot thank you enough for sharing all of these great resources because I know I have so enjoyed learning about them. And I have a lot of stuff to add to my try list or my things that I want to dig into. I would also highly, highly ask that if there's anything that I recommended that you tried and you either liked or didn't like, write me a message. Let me know. Like, I'm all about taking the feedback. So if you're like, Kim, I tried Whisper Flow and it stunk, great. I would love to know that. If you're like, Kim, I tried Superhuman and this thing freaking rocks, that's great too. So I would love to know if anything that I mentioned to you was helpful or that maybe wasn't so helpful for you, just so I can keep it in mind moving forward. Got a question from Hi. Will there be a live next week? Sadly, there will not be a live next week because I am doing exactly what I said I would do, which is pushing myself out of my comfort zone and doing something new. And I am doing a big hike in Colorado, a big 14-mile hike. They say it takes about 10 hours. Uh, maybe say a little prayer for me. We'll see how it goes. But they say during like the weekends, it's really crowded. And if you want to go see the wildflowers and whatnot, you should do it during the week. So there's a big group of us. And sadly, everybody picked Wednesday. So I will be hiking next Wednesday. That is ironically what's going to be on my cultural list for July. Giant 14-mile, 10-hour hike to go see wildflowers in Colorado. So that is what is going to be on my little July culture list. But I sadly will not be with you next Wednesday, but we will be here, like I said, not next week, but the week after that for those LinkedIn profile audits. If you have been to one of those before, I know Jeff mentioned earlier, but he was like, oh my gosh, those are so fun. If you have not been to one before, literally, you must join. Like, they are so fun. They're so lively. Everybody is really into it. If you have been to one before, maybe help me convince some of the new people that they are really fun. Or if your LinkedIn profile has seen better days, or perhaps you haven't touched it in a while, all the more reason that you should come and jump on board. I love Brendan just said, can we tell you to take a hike, Kim? Yes, you can. Take a hike because it'll be a cattle drive of sorts that is happening here with a bunch of me and my friends drinking a lot of water and trying to stay hydrated and not collapse in the wildflowers. So yes, you could always tell me to take a hike, but so excited to dig into those LinkedIn reviews. You can always go to getcoffeewithkim.com and we will send you a calendar invite that will hold that place on your calendar so you can make sure not to forget. Because I know, again, you're busy and life gets crazy. So you can always go to getcoffeewithkim.com and it will add a beautiful little calendar invite to hold that meeting in your calendar. I want to thank you for hanging tough and hanging with me. I know that you were probably so excited, like me, to sit down with Erin and kind of talk with her and absorb her goodness. But she is going to reschedule with us. And I'm really excited for that conversation as well. But I've gotten a lot of good stuff out of this talk today, and hopefully you have as well. I love being with you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the week and rest of the weekend. And I hope to hear from you very, very soon. I'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. Take care. Bye.